Theudas comes in 44 AD. So if you look at this passage in Acts, I can read it to you here quickly. What's that? Chapter 5 in Acts? I have a New Testament here. Chapter 5 is that he has there? Let's see, I'll read it to you quickly. It's supposed to be the Pharisee teacher Gamaliel talking. And these are put in Gamaliel's words here. And he's protecting Paul, or Peter rather. He said at the Sanhedrin, "Men, Israelites," Gamaliel talking at the Sanhedrin, Paul's teacher theoretically, "be careful what you are doing to these men. For before these days Theudas rose up, boasting himself to be a somebody. And a number of men, about 400, were joined to him, and he was killed, and all of them were scattered." That's right out of Josephus, but that's 44 AD. "And they came to nothing, as many were following him. And after this, Judas the Galilean arose in the days of the census, and drew away many people after him. And he also was destroyed, and all of them were scattered." And so something's wrong here, because this is not the proper order. Judas Galilean doesn't come after Theudas, he comes before him. But he's showing off his knowledge, the writer of this text. Again, I'm sure this is not Gamaliel. The writer wants to show that he knows about the period, but in showing it, like all people who show off too much, he sometimes sticks his foot in his mouth and you know where he's getting his information. Now I can tell you the reason for this particular anachronism, as we call it. The reason is really quite simple. If you look at Josephus in the Antiquities carefully, you'll see that Josephus mentions Theudas, not quite like this, much more serious than this. This is just a sort of throwaway. Someone doesn't care or like the stuff, just throws it away like that. Somebody, nobody, etc. And he talks about Theudas very seriously, and the famine, which, by the way, then a prophet called Agabus goes down to Antioch and proclaims the famine here in Acts. Josephus talks about the famine, so that comes right around the time of Theudas. Then he says, after that, the two sons of Judas the Galilean were crucified by the Romans. That Judas the Galilean who rose up in the time of the census. And then he explains who Judas the Galilean was after talking about the crucifixion of his two sons. You follow me? So that's 48 AD. So that is afterwards. But what's the author of Acts done? He too hastily chucked away the crucifixion of the two sons and only retained the part about Judas the Galilean. So again, someone has done his work a little bit too sloppily, moved too fast. You see, that's what a scholar can do with this. Now, I may be wrong. Maybe this is correct. But I remember sometimes I speak with Muslim people and we point out mistakes in the Quran, and then they say, how do you know? You know, God knows, you know not. For instance, Muhammad seems to think that Jesus is how does he put it? Is the son of Moses' sister Mary or Miriam, and he's missed about 12 centuries in between. And then at one point he greets into one of his stories. He's just befuddled because he's got it from oral tradition, not from an angel. And don't tell any Muslims I said that. Then at another point he says he has someone greet Mary because he's mixing up Moses' sister Miriam with Jesus' mother Mary. It's all mixed up. And he has someone greet Mary and says, "Oh, sister of Aaron. Oh, sister of Aaron." Well, he obviously is talking about the Moses story where Miriam is Aaron's sister, if you recall. Miriam the prophet. And so you say that to a believing Muslim and they say, how do you know Mary didn't have a brother called Aaron? And you say, oh, sorry. And then they say, God knoweth, ye know not. And that's the end of the discussion. So, if you want to take this at face value, you can use the same kind of argument and you can defeat me absolutely. But if you want to use your head and look at this in a rational, critical way, you'll finally have to come up with the conclusion that the person who wrote this was reading Josephus' Antiquities a little too quickly.